Hey everyone, hopefully you can hear me here. I'm trying to go and get set up. No special hat or whatever this time. I've got ton going on. I haven't been able to go and deal with finding a random hat or whatever. But just working on getting on here to be able to talk tonight. So usually what we do is we run this out through until about 8 o'clock Eastern time. So that would be an hour and a half from now. If you're new to the chat, basically, I end up starting to lose my voice after about an hour and a half of this. And I still have 3 more videos to go and shoot this week, hopefully for you guys. So I can't exactly shoot video and not have a voice. So that's my thing. So hope everybody's doing well. And I'm glad to go and see you guys coming in. And thank you for the hellos and the highs and everything else. And you know, feel free to throw up questions, or we'll be talking about some other stuff and going from there. Unfortunately, I didn't get the latest tractor video done today like I was hoping to, so I'm not going to reveal what the snapshot of the tractor actually was or what it is. I know a bunch of you guys have been speculating what the tractor is. It is an oddball. It is a rarity. And so far, nobody's actually managed to guess it correctly, but they've been really close. I'll give you guys the fact you've been really close on what it is. Yeah, thank you guys very much for the congratulations on the 100,000 subscribers.
Woo woo.
It was definitely delayed. If it wasn't for the whole cabin experience in the middle of the woods and everything else, we probably would have managed to go and clear it sooner. But what are you? Ow! Look, your tiny little itty bitty head makes for hats that do not fit.
Too bad.
That is not comfortable, nor do my ears apparently fit in it.
I didn't put your ears in it.
Well, yeah, I put my ears in it because that's the way you're supposed to wear one of these hats. Okay, I'm only wearing this for a second because this thing is like micro hatisms. What is up with that stupid fly? Somebody needs to kill that thing. Let's see. Let's see. Steven says, here's your hat. Let's see. Steven says, can you do a how to build a racing mower if you haven't already? Okay, so Steven, I'm assuming you're talking about racing mowers as in like circle track racing. And the problem is okay, for those of you who are good with Google, look up Lebanon, Maine, which is down near the border of Maine, and then look up Belfast, Belfast. I don't remember exactly what the driving distance is, but it's pretty close to somewhere around 3 hours or so. That is the nearest legitimate circle track for racing lawn tractors in my area. Unfortunately, the city of Belfast decided that they're a bunch of smucks and they killed the chance for there to be a track here in Belfast. And then on top of that, there is a track. There's a go-kart track that's north of me that has debated doing lawn tractor racing. But the problem is they continue to roll back on the idea that there needs to be at least 20 individual people that are willing to build racers. And I just can't get anybody else to join in at this point or join in on the idea. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully at some point that'll take off and we'll be able to do a racer build. I would love to go and do a full legitimate circuit legal racer build. That would absolutely be great as far as I'm concerned, but I'm not going to spend that type of money to do that. I actually have 1, 2, I might even have 3. I've got at least 2 700 transmissions that I could build a racer with. I've got live axles. I've got sprockets. I could build the racer. The problem is I don't have the track. So that's where I'm at there. Let's see. TB says 100,000. You deserve it, bro. I appreciate it. To be quite honest, it's not the lawn tractors that got me the 100,000 though. As stated many times, it was the initial mud run video with the gas powered power wheel that really netted me most of my subscriber base. I love you guys. I love talking about the lawn tractors and I love all that kind of stuff. But that's the reason why it is I perpetually still do the builds of that nature, is because those are what really actually caused my channel to explode and grow the way it did. We do have another interesting build coming up for this winter. Actually, I've got two interesting builds that I have planned for this winter. I have something really special planned for the diesel that I'm still sorting out a little bit of the logistics on. And I have a very John requested build that a lot of you casually have asked me whether it's a potential that it could be done. I think I've come up with a way to do it, so we're going to try it. We've got about a $300 budget we're gambling with at this point, and we'll see where it goes. So we're going to keep it low budget and try something a little bit different here. Let's see. Is it a 1970s Sears? No. No, I will not be copying everybody else. So back years ago, before the diesel Sears fad became a thing, there actually was a guy that created a diesel Sears over 2 years before the diesel fad started. He created it. He set it up exactly the same way as you know who, and you know who built his exactly the way that the original was built. And so the diesel Sears thing has been done for over 10 years at this point. And there are several people that have gone through and they have created GT6000s. So the GT6000 uses the same exact Roper transmission as a Sears Suburban does. And so a GT6000 with a little bit more monkeying around is capable of also having a diesel put in it. So we know that the Roper 633 is capable of dealing with the diesel power. We've got 10 plus years worth of people doing it, including 2 years worth of predecessor to the diesel Sears fad. So I got a build for you guys. It's going to be totally different than what anybody else has done. And we're going to go and bring it out in the next month or two. Yeah, somewhere around there. I've got a couple of logistics to sort out with that one also. But at this point, the diesel itself cost me about $100 bill. The rest of the stuff, well, where is stuff? The rest of the stuff sorted out to be able to go with the diesel cost me about another $100. And I need to sort out about another probably $60 worth of parts and supplies in order to deal with the build. So we'll have yet again another $300-ish type junkyard build for this winter. So we're going to have two junkyard builds, one with the diesel and one that is a John idea, that are both about a $300 investment style build. $300 seems to be about the usual norm that I talk with most people about doing a project. They seem to be usually somewhere in the $200 to $400 ballpark on what they have for money to play with when we start talking about mud mowers and speed mowers and machines built for, you know, bombing the trails and like the builds in order to be able to go and do the drag race and stuff like that. Usually somewhere in the $300 ballpark is what a lot of people seem to be working with. So that's what I'm trying to base these two builds on, is staying around that $300 junkyard budget. Let's see. JR, do you have sled drags up there? Yes, actually. There is a place that's called Winterport. If you look up Winterport drag strip, you will find that there is a 1/8 of a mile drag strip that is probably about a half of an hour drive away from me. So as far as that's concerned, it's an 1/8 of a mile track. They do not have the run out to be able to do 1/4 mile, which is why it's an 1/8 of a mile. They do sled racing. They do the rollerblade skis sled racing there, but they don't do a wintertime sled racing, if that's what you're asking. There is a place called Unity Drag, I believe it is, or Unity Lake Races or something like that. Or maybe it's Unity Pond Racers. It's Unity something, Unity Pond, Unity something Racers. And they do sled drag racing during the winter time. And they're debating allowing us with the dragsters for the lawn tractors to go do that, which is why it is we will probably, if I can get the extra time, we will probably continue to work on the bug dragster, the monster bug. I would like to go and continue with a little bit if we get the chance. If you watch that video, basically the gist of the situation is I didn't get back around to putting the belt in that should have been in it. So I ended up roasting the belt that was in it. On top of that, I chose the wrong gear for the custom built transmission. I should have chose 3rd gear instead of 4th gear. So I messed up there, and I need to go back and I need to rebuild that transmission. I also need to go and put 2nd gear into it, probably, for a run around the you know what, a pit. For a run around the pit gear in order to be able to get around with, because I blew 1st gear to smithereens on my testing and stuff. And yeah, if you're watching the drag racing video and you see the clip in there where the bug all of a sudden goes sideways on me and then I bring it back around, that's because I actually tried to take off in 1st gear and I just roasted the rear tires. And then I tried to snap it into 3rd gear, and instead I popped the thing into 6 and I just bogged the entire motor. That was just one of those learning experiences, and we're continuing to go and keep going as far as the drag racing is concerned next year. Ryan says, thank you for the stickers. Hey, I'm glad that I could go and get you some stickers. Unfortunately, we've run out of the stickers and stuff as far as what I have for extras to give away right now. Unfortunately, I need to keep the few that I have left for project markers and stuff like that. When this COVID stuff calms down and I'm back to actually making the income I used to, we'll order up another set of stickers and we'll start doing freebies again. So unfortunately, if you're here just for stickers, I'm sorry, I don't have any. Boy, that stupid fly. I need, like, anybody remember those? Do you remember the gag fly swatters where it had 2 fly swatters and it had a trigger handle and they'd go like that and you could try and get a fly? I actually used to be pretty good at hitting flies with those. Those were a lot of fun. I haven't seen one in years. But yeah, they had like a trigger. You'd pull them and they'd clap and you'd go and smack the fly out of the air. I miss those. Those were really fun to play with as a kid. Let's see.
Showing your age.
Jesse says I'm showing my age for talking about those. Let's see. I live in Waldoboro, Maine, so I'm in the same boat as you. Yep, see, same idea. It's a weird area to live because there's so much here, but yet at the same time, there's just not at the same time. Let's see. TB says, I've been here since 10,000 subs, and That build sounds awesome. Awesome, dude. Thanks. I'm glad to go and have you here. That's a long time to go and put up with my dumb self talking on camera. Let's see. TB wants to know what happened to the golf carts. The golf carts are on hold because I can't get comparable controllers for them right now. Unfortunately, what's happened with this cornhole virus stuff is that any of the Chinese controllers that I use for a lot of projects, they've either cut production, they've discontinued production, or they have really jacked the price of production. So the controller that I want to go and use for the golf carts, they're about when you can get them, they're about $180 controller, and they're currently out of production right now with no notice as to when they're coming back. And that's where I'm stuck on the golf carts. I've debated a few rednecky ways of doing the golf carts, but unfortunately, the batteries are the biggest cost problem when you're dealing with that kind of build. And if I had some overlapping builds to be able to do with batteries of that size, then it would be one thing. But as it is right now, I just don't have the overlapping builds to be able to warrant the $600 worth of investment I'd have to do in order to do the golf carts. But I've had a lot of you get a hold of me about the idea of the golf carts and doing the Predator installations with them. And I've debated that on a few levels. I've debated maybe a Predator matched up with a Peerless 700 so that you could have essentially a 5-speed with a really, really, by the time you deal with the differential ratio and then the gear change and everything else, you'd have a really, really slow reverse gear. But I've debated something along those lines, something like a Predator engine for $100 matched up to a snowblower Peerless 700, which would allow you to have reverse. I don't know. Is that something you guys actually think is a good idea? Just one of those things. Let's see. Jerk of all trades. Glad to go and see you, dude. Yeah, and thank you on the congratulations. I appreciate it. It's been a long, hard uphill battle, but made it. Finally made it. Let's see. Could someone join your Maine Mud Mowers Facebook group to show non-mud mowers? So if you read the description of Maine Mud Mowers, it's based towards anything that is a lawn tractor modification. We even encompass the idea of racing, drag racing, go-kart builds out of lawn tractors. The whole point of Maine Mud Mowers group was lawn tractor parts used to build things. If you read down through the description, that's the way I've written it out. And so you're more than welcome to join as long as it is built out of lawn tractor stuff. So feel free to join. On another aspect, a fellow YouTuber runs Sprocket's Garage. Sprocket's Garage is more of a bulk, all things gas powered and some electric type bulk group that's run by a fellow YouTuber named Doc Sprocket. He's a really cool guy. Last I knew, he was actually working on producing a couple of mud mower romp videos that should be out soon. So you probably should go double check him. Sprocket's Garage on Facebook and Doc Sprocket on YouTube. Really cool guy. Don't give him any issues about being Canadian. He knows it's a mess up. That's a bad joke, by the way. Don't tell him I said that. Actually, please tell him I did. We need to go and kick his YouTube channel. Go over there, comment randomly. Find a random video and say RCG Racing says make videos. Just go over there and plague his channel, please. I've been trying to poke him and get him to go back to doing mud mower videos now for about 9 months. Because he builds like I do. He builds abstract, he builds what he wants to, and he doesn't build cookie cutter builds. He builds really unique stuff. Fugazi, he has a machine called Fugazi, which is the most absolutely built, bad to the bone Murray you will ever see on YouTube. Without question, the most built and capable Murray ever created on YouTube. I could try and I could try and have hundreds of dollars backing me and I wouldn't build a better Murray than that. It is literally the best of the best in my opinion. So go see him, go check it out. Dante says you should let people comment on your videos. Dear Dante, that's not my choice. So because of the fact that the gas-powered Power Wheel made me so popular and everything else, the term Power Wheel is associated by YouTube with kids. So because of the fact that almost all of my views, as far as my top viewed stuff is concerned, says the word Power Wheel, my channel got mislabeled about 2 years ago as a kids channel. And YouTube has decided to plead ignorance about the issue and continues to refuse to decide to go and own up to the idea that children do not use welders and grinders, with the exception of John. John's actually pretty good at grinding at this point. He also can tack weld when necessary in a pinch. So, you know, he's not the usual kid, though. We'll set him aside in his own little category of really good minion. But yeah, it's got nothing to do with me. It has to do with YouTube decided that supposedly I run a kids channel. Gotta love them. Actually, I'm hoping with this 100,000 subscribers that YouTube will decide to branch out and get a hold of me. For those of you starting up a channel, if you don't know this, when you hit about 10,000 subscribers, YouTube will actually reach out to you and they give you a YouTube advisor, which is actually a really hyped up term for somebody who goes in and gives you a BS idea of how you can make your YouTube channel better, but really they don't care. It's just YouTube pretending to go and actually care. But at 100,000 subscribers, they usually end up having another YouTube advisor get a hold of you in order to talk about YouTube. So I really can't wait to go and send them the 28, I believe it is. I have 28 individual emails with multiple responses of them, of me attempting to go and get YouTube to decide to own up to the idea it's not a kids channel. So when their advisor gets a hold of me at some point, I'm hoping soon, I can't wait to discuss what the classification of a kids channel on a channel like mine is there for. So we'll see what happens with that. Let's see. Have you ever seen the Han Eclipse push mowers? No, actually, I have no clue about any of those, but I'll make sure to go and Google it later and take a look at them. Han Eclipse push mowers. Okay, I'll make sure to go and take a look at it later and find out what they are.
Well, good, because we need a new push mower.
We do not need a new push mower. I'll get one for free from someone. I don't buy push mowers. I always end up with free push mowers every couple of years.
Well, good, because ours is going dead.
Ours is not going dead. It's just being minorly temperamental. Let's see.
Give it some love, then.
When is the YouTube poster coming for the 100,000 subs? Actually, What's interesting is I actually know about I know 4 other YouTube channels that in the last 3 months have managed to clear 100,000 subs. And out of those 4, none of them have ended up receiving their 100,000 subscriber plaques. In fact, one of them actually just cleared 130,000 subs and still has yet to go and get his plaque. So I don't expect to go and get my 100,000 sub plaque. YouTube's in its own little world right now, so it is what it is. Let's see. Jerk of all trades, I just hit 181 subscribers.
Awesome.
But I have one video with over 10,000 views now, which is cool. That is cool, dude. That's really cool. I'm glad that you're starting to grow.
Yay.
Let's see. Kristen, hi RCG. Where is John? So John's bio mom and I actually have a shared custody. So John is currently with her, and he spends half the week with her, and he spends half the week with me. I have him on the weekends, and she has him during part of the school week. Let's see. Why did he stop uploading? Just no time? Oh, I'm assuming you mean Doc Sprocket. Doc Sprocket, as far as I know, he ended up with a bunch of stuff that ended up coming up. His son has hit the point of being old enough to be able to drive and bought his own vehicle and a bunch of other stuff. And I believe Doc was talking about moving or a major house renovation or something. And I'm assuming he just ended up needing to go and take a break from dealing with YouTube. He's not a full-time YouTuber like I am. He doesn't make a major priority income from YouTube. So he tends to do it as he's what we usually refer to as a hobbyist YouTuber. Whereas I am a what is the term I am looking for?
Entrepreneur.
Well, entrepreneur, yes, I'm an entrepreneur, but I am a career YouTuber who used to be a hobbyist. Doc is still a hobbyist YouTuber. So he produces when he has time or he feels like doing another project. So he tends to usually show up during the winter time, actually, when he has to slow down with his construction work, which means that he should be producing videos soon, and I'll be happy to watch them. Let's see. Let's see. Old Roscoe, you've probably answered this 1,000 times, but what do you recommend for oil to use? My answer to you is it really depends on the climate that you live in. To be quite honest, I usually tend to go and run 530 through almost all of my engines as far as the lawn tractors are concerned. And I actually run it as low as 520 on plow rigs. And the reason being is because our winters here can get as low as like 0 degrees. And like we can get several 20 to 30 degrees below freezing days here in Maine. And we can have snowstorms where you are literally plowing and snowblower and running a snowblower in as low as 10 degrees Fahrenheit. So during the winter time, I tend to run a very thin oil because otherwise it just is horrible to try and get the machines to start. But the problem with running a really thin oil is that it tends, on a small engine, it tends to burn the oil. The piston rings are just not made for a thin consistency oil like that. And so anytime you get below 30 weight oil, you're going to eat oil. So plan ahead for that. My recommendation has always been 530 as far as a universal oil to run. But if you're running during the winter, sometimes you have to go and play it a little bit differently. As far as what oil I run, as far as do I have a brand I like, do I have a certain version I use or something like that, the answer to the question is I buy it in bulk. I buy it in bulk off of Amazon when it goes on sale. I buy the 530 synthetic blend off of Amazon straight up. It comes in a bottle that is silver with black lettering. There are no logos on it other than it has a small print of Amazon on the top. It is the cheapest possible place to order oil. If you have an Amazon Prime membership, without question, it beats out AutoZone. It beats out Napa. It beats out all of them as far as price goes. But I do. I run a 530 synthetic. Whatever the cheapest possible is, I can buy. Let's see. Devin says, oh, I was just wondering if I could show my $50 budget lawnmower on Maine Mud Mowers. Yes, of course. Join. Maine Mud Mowers, we don't care whether it's run and turf savers and you are just bombing it around your backyard, or whether you are running a full built machine like Mud Wizard and you are out on the actual trails. We do it all. 5-speed go-karts built out of lawn tractor parts, drag racers, circle track racers have joined and shown their builds. As long as it is lawn tractor based, or at least lawn tractor-ish based, that's the point of the Maine Mud Mower group. The Maine Mud Mower name is from my original machine that I built years ago. If you want to Google it and look it up, you'll see the original machine and where the name came from. Okay, that one made me snort a little. JR, YouTube advisor, that's like the paperclip in Microsoft Word, right? Yes. Yes, when you hit 10,000 subscribers on YouTube and you get a YouTube advisor, that is literally exactly what it's like. When I hit 10,000 subscribers, I decided to talk with my YouTube advisor about I chatted on a live chat with my YouTube advisor for over an hour and a half for me to continuously have him tell me, oh, I'm sorry, I can't really look at that, or oh, I'm sorry, I don't have the information for that, or oh, I'm sorry, I really can't help you with that, over and over and over again. The 10,000 subscriber advisor is the most worst, stupid gimmick YouTube ever came up with. They don't help you at all. Basically, the question you get asked at 10,000 subscribers is, hey, I see that this is your top video on YouTube right now. Why do you think that's your top video on YouTube? Can we talk about this being your top video? I think as your YouTube advisor, you should make more videos like this top video that you have right now. That is all the conversation that they literally give any, terms in order to be able to talk to you about. That's it. That's all they tell you at 10,000 subscribers. The sad part is I've heard this story confirmed over and over and over again, perpetually from other YouTubers. It's not just me personally. If you go on Facebook, you can join YouTube creators group on Facebook, and it's YouTubers that are below 100,000 subscribers, and talk with them about what they've ended up encountering and sorting out different problems they've had growing, because YouTube just doesn't care to talk to you if you're below 100,000 subscribers. So a lot of it is just spitballing and trying to figure it out with a community of others. Let's see. Lauren says he's been sharing my videos when he can. Thank you, Lauren. I appreciate that. And share videos when they're relevant. That's the reason why it is I don't bother saying please share my videos in my videos. I've always been a very firm believer as far as doing my YouTube work that if somebody was going to share it, they've already hit the share button. I don't think I need to tell you to subscribe. I don't think I need to tell you to go and hit like and blah, 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 and all that other stupid stuff that people end up saying in videos. If you're going to share it, you've already shared it. I don't need to tell you to. Let's
You
see.
don't need to ask them to.
Ask, tell them to, whatever. A lot of YouTubers usually end up saying, and now, will you please hit the like button, blah, blah, blah.
The saying please is asking.
Oh, please is asking. I've been corrected by the nicey nice in the background.
You're welcome.
Let's see. Will my LT1000 plow my driveway without a pulley swap? If you get 6 inches or less of snow, is my answer. And it needs to be soft snow. If you end up with rain after the snow and it's wet snow, well, find a shovel. You're gonna need one. My LT1000 Maine Mud Mower, I used to go and plow my driveway with just a moderate pulley swap. And the problem is I ended up blowing fourth gear repetitively out of MST transmissions while I was plowing with it. That's the reason why I ended up building the GT6000 into a plow rig, was because I needed a transmission that I would quit blowing to smithereens fourth gear. You need ramming speed when you're plowing at times. And the MSTs and the 930s just cannot get you ramming speed while having the torque. So my answer to you as far as your plowing is concerned, 6 inches or less. If it's wet snow, I'm sorry, pick up a shovel because you're going to need it. Junkyard Dog, any update on the plow truck? Plow truck is coming up soon. I've got some parts in. I've got a battery maintainer on it right now. I am still dealing with a couple of things before we end up trying to fire up that plow truck. I got my snowblower up and running in order to make sure I've got something that I know is legitimately good in order to be able to work on it if we end up with a freak snowstorm. That's the big problem here in Maine, is that here in Maine, sometime around Halloween-ish, there is almost always a freak snowstorm. That's why the old Maine joke is that when you have kids, you always make sure to choose a Halloween costume that fits over the top of a snowsuit, because I would bet, what would you say, honey? Probably one in 4 years, there's probably snow by Halloween.
1 in 3, or
Yeah.
a really, really, really bad, crappy rainstorm.
Yeah, or a really bad rainstorm with frost the next day. It's really, really common for there to be snow, or at least a freak snowstorm, by the time you end up hitting Halloween here in Maine. So I've got the snowblower up and running so that in the case of an emergency snowstorm, I can at least do a breakout run up and down my driveway. Why does my Kohler cut off at high idle? I'm going to bet you have a carburetor problem, most likely. A lot of those Kohlers will decide to go and sit there and they will idle perfectly fine. And then when you give them the beans, they end up stalling out and falling flat on their face. Usually it's because those carburetors are clogged up. A lot of the Kohlers are, what do you call them? High-low jet carburetors. And so you can end up with the idle working perfectly fine and the high will end up being clogged, especially if it was on a motor that tended to spend a lot of its life lugging down and stuff. That's the reason why it is. I get a lot of people that they will slow the motor down and they'll drive around and stuff and whatever. And I do not recommend that. If you're driving around, it should be up at the RPMs it is supposed to be, because it lugs the motor down and it tends to do some really stupid stuff over the course of a long period of time. So that's just my 2 cents. It's what I tend to run into a lot. You know, take it with a grain of salt. Dude, I hope you get to 1 mil subs. If I could just make it to 250,000, that's really my only major goal. If I'm at 100,000 subs now and I'm making the income that I am now, if I can make it to 200,000 and be making a little bit more than double the income I currently am, I will be set for a yearly income. As it is right now, one thing that most people don't realize about YouTube is that YouTube utterly, totally plummets as far as their income is concerned. Usually about January 20th or so, usually somewhere in January, the ad revenue just plummets. It drops off. So if you're making, say, and I'm not using this as what I'm making, but I'm going to use it as a representation. If you're making $1,000, okay, if you're making $1,000 going into, say, December, by the time you get into January, February, and March, that $1,000, you will be absolutely lucky. Lucky would be the right term, to make just barely 600. If you're making 1,000 going through December, you will be happy to make, say, 500 to 600 for January, February, and March. So that's my big thing. Is my goal has always been to go and make at least $1,000 to $1,200 as my base pay, making it through January, February, and March, because at that point I know that I can still pay all of my bills and not have to have a bankroll going into the winter. This winter is going to be really tough. I don't have a bankroll going into this winter. I don't have a savings. It's going to be pretty much skin of the teeth in order to make it through this winter, but I intend to continue to produce videos. We've managed to do junkyard videos all through this stupid, dumb cornhole. This entire cornhole virus thing, we have not done any redo videos. We have not done any rehashes. We haven't redone old videos. We have done junkyard videos and consistently put out new content. And there are a lot of YouTube channels that can't say that they've done that. So we're going to keep doing it. I don't care how junkyardy we have to get. We're going to keep doing new content all through this dumb cornhole virus.
Even if he has to wear makeup.
Even what? Why am I wearing makeup?
I was kidding.
She keeps trying to talk me into the idea that we need to do a Halloween special.
We do.
We don't need a Halloween special.
Well, then your next live, which is right before Halloween, you're doing it.
Okay. All right, there you go, guys. There's your comment section right there. Comment on what kind of face paint, something simple for face paint, makeup, whatever I should have on for the Halloween live chat. Should I be a skeleton face? Should I look like I got a black eye? Should I look like a pirate? I don't know. Something really simple. So some sort of stupid, simple type idea for makeup or something. You know, comment down below and tell us what it is you think. How many riding mowers do you currently have?
Working ones or all of them?
I think what they mean is all of them that are remotely together. Okay, so if we don't count chassis that are blatantly in the junkyard. So no counting. Okay, so if we're not counting the 7 frames that are in the junkyard right now, in the junk pile. So discounting those, we would have, let's see, Okay, so there's 7 in the parts lineup right. No, wait, 6. There's 6 in the parts lineup right now. And then there's the Stanley GT, which would put us at 7. We've got the 2 dragsters, which puts us at 9. We've got Bouncy. We've got Mud Wizard putting us at 11. We've got Not the Norm and the Hydro build, which would put us at 13. We've got the tractor that I just bought, would put us at 14. We've got the Bolins, the Sears Suburban, the GT 6000, the mystery one that's in the garage, the other mystery one that I got for John, which puts us at 19. The GT 6000 that I just bought puts us at 20. The Cub Cadet that you guys haven't seen on video yet puts us at 21. And the Husqvarna that I use as a rented mule to haul stuff around puts us at 22. The dead MTD that's down on the side needs a motor. That would put us at 23. There's another mower that's hidden on the property you guys have never seen, puts us at 24. And, oh, there's the Weed Eater, puts us at 25. And I think I'm missing 2, actually. Yes, there's another Bug, puts us at 26. And another GT 6000, which would put us at 27. So right now, currently, there's 27 that have tires, roll, and semi-drive-ish or do drive.
So he just needs to get 3 more before Halloween. He'll have 30.
Yeah, 3 more before Halloween, and I'll have 30. Actually, the sad part is there is another one I'm debating.
Okay, so make it 4, then it'd be 31 for Halloween.
Yeah, no, I don't need 31 mowers.
Come on, for Halloween season.
Honey, I don't need 31 mowers.
You could make it a zombie mower.
And yes, I do realize that all of you currently are wishing you had a girlfriend you were arguing with about getting more mowers. Jessie totally supports the fact that I build from the junkyard, and she totally gets it. Plus, she likes driving the Bouncer, and it needs some more upgrades at some point. So we'll go and figure out more upgrades for Bouncer at some point. Let's see. All right.
Sorry, taken.
Let's see. Okay, let's see if we can catch up on stuff here. 100% paperclip. Yeah, no kidding. Let's see. I went mudding on stock turfs and did it in 2 feet of mud. If you look up how to cut turf savers, there's actually one of the original gas-powered Power Wheel videos on how to cut turf savers. If you look up that video, you can actually get a ton of grip. If you look at Jessie, gee whiz, that Dr. Pepper's got burps in it. If you if you look up watching Jessie on the Bouncer rig, in I believe it's the second mudding video that she was in over on RCG Racing, that machine went from regular turf savers to cut turf savers, and it made a huge difference in its capability. And then from there, jumping into the Wanda, the Wanda tires that are on it was an even bigger jump in capability.
Love it.
Yeah, Jessie loves it now. She gets pretty ballsy with it now. Let's see. Oh, let me see. Let's see. I heard you say you started working on the house. What's going on with it now? So the house is currently still being cleaned up. we're working on getting the first floor cleaned out to the point that we can decide on a full floor plan change. Jesse and I want to change the entire layout. Well, not the entire layout, but about 2/3 of the layout we want to go and change in there. And so we want it entirely gutted of everything that's potentially going to be in the way. They literally just dumped everything before leaving and just left trash through the whole entire place. By the time I was done, just with the cleanup I've done, it was 38 large 50-gallon trash bags worth of trash, and I'm still not done cleaning up. And that was around the outside of the property and just trying to get
on the porch
cleaned off. Just getting the porch cleaned off was 14 trash bags by itself worth of garbage. They literally dumped anything and everything. Next to my garage was another 8 bags worth of garbage. In the garage itself was randomly another 4.
I did 5 in the house.
Yeah, she's done 5 in the house, just trying to go and get to the point that we could move some stuff around. It's just utter grunge. So we'll get to it once we get enough cleaned out that we can actually show some stuff. The other thing is Jesse and I both want to go and move away from here to a bigger piece of property in the future. So I've decided that I'm going to be liquidating everything that has to do with the fish stuff. And so right now, all the fish stuff is still in there, and I need to just liquidate it. So in all honesty, by the way, if you know somebody that is in the state of Maine that lives anywhere near me that would love a 90-gallon plexiglass tank, a free 55-gallon tank, I believe I've got a couple of, I believe I may have a 20-gallon with the wrought iron stand, stuff like that. If you know somebody in the area that wants that stuff for free, tell them to send me an email. I will set it up and we will figure it out. All of the fish stuff is going. Every single bit of it is welcome to be a freebie and just get out of the house. Let's see. The Kohler engine is on a welder and I've cleaned the carb. It's on a welder and you've cleaned the carb. In all honesty, I would talk with generator groups and I would see if, so the problem with welders and generators is that welders and generators have rectifier circuits that have to do with the coil. And if those rectifiers are starting to have issues, they can actually cause the coil to end up with a coil resonance, I believe is the term I'm looking for. And it actually acts as a brake. And it works under the same exact principle as electric brakes on like a Tesla or something like that. And so if I were you, I would find out from groups that have to do with generators whether there is potentially some sort of circuit like that. The other thing is, you could also join an old timers forum like mytractorforum.com. Those guys over there are a bunch of retirees with nothing better to do than sit at a computer and give you advice all day long. Don't get me wrong, really nice group of guys. But the nitpicky little tiny whatever stuff that those guys will know and decide to write you out a 3-page report on is crazy. So whenever I'm looking for that kind of good, crazy type information, I always go over to mytractorforum.com and post up a question there. If somebody's going to know it, it's in that group. But do keep in mind, you are going to go and get a like biblical response, and don't take offense when you do, because their responses will assume that you need a textbook. Okay. Very good group of guys, but just keep that in mind. I got a free Craftsman 2 42-inch hydro. What's it worth? I don't usually tend to answer what's it worth questions with a solid answer. And the reason being is because that is a regional statement. So a Craftsman 2 with decent paint and a working 42-inch deck here in the state of Maine would usually retail for about $350. On the other hand, that exact same Craftsman 2 with a 42-inch deck in, say, Texas or someplace where the decks don't rot out, you almost have to give them away running. Up here, because the decks rot out, if it is even remotely capable of mowing grass, drives, and you can prove it, it's $250. Does not matter what the paint looks like or nothing. As long as it has a hood, it runs, it drives, it cuts grass here in the state of Maine, it is $250. But that is the state of Maine. You need to go on Marketplace, go on Craigslist, do some research, and literally start a spreadsheet on what people are charging. And the reason why I say a spreadsheet is because you're going to have psycho prices and you're going to have I just want it gone prices. Take your spreadsheet, do the math, find what the middle ground is, start listing them at that price. That's the way I do it. Straight up honest, straight up in your face answer. That's exactly how I price most machines here in my area. Let's see. Master 16 says, can I send you a trans that needs to be rebuilt with an agreed upon labor cost? Sorry, I don't do that kind of stuff. That kind of thing always ends up turning into a headache. And it's no offense towards you or anybody else I've done it for in the past. It's just, I like the fact that I get to work my own schedule when I want, doing what I want. I mean, in the last like 4 months, I have rebuilt a big giant 16-foot wide flail mower for dealing with cutting hay. I have worked on F-250 trucks. I've worked on HD 2500 trucks. I've worked on a big giant 18 cubic yard dump truck doing PTO and doing hydraulic pumps. I have worked on moving double wide houses. I've been the flagger and control director for a D9 dozer. I've done all of that stuff in the last 3 to 4 months because I work when I want, doing what I want on my own schedule. And that's part of what I have worked really hard to get to here on YouTube. And so I don't do commission jobs because they're a tie down, unfortunately. And it's one of those things. That's part of the reason why it is I don't do customer service. I do full builds because I want to do it in the schedule that allows me to do my YouTube videos. Face paint idea for Halloween, Captain Spaulding. Who in the world is Captain Spaulding? I guess I'll have to look that one up.
Good, because I can't remember.
All right. For face paint for Halloween, you should write Craftsman across your face. Thanks. The sad part is the giggles and laughs from the girlfriend in the background means it might actually happen. Let's see. Hello from Ottawa, Canada. Let's see.
Hi.
Please do a video on the hidden tractor. I have been trying to. Unfortunately, there's been a whole bunch of other stuff that's ended up coming up as of late. The hidden tractor The hidden tractor I will try to get to before winter. If the snow flies before I get a chance to get to it, I'm sorry. That's just life, and that's the way things go. If I get to it before snow flies, it'll be on the channel. Otherwise than that, I'm sorry. It's going to have to wait till spring. It's waited 7 years at this point to be back on the channel. There's a hint for you. It's waited 7 years to be back on the channel. For those of you who have followed me that long, maybe you can actually guess what it is the hidden tractor is. What did the white lawn tractor usually come with in terms of engine? So I'm assuming you mean the really giant white tractor that I have. Apparently they came with 18 horsepower and 20 horsepower horizontal shaft motors. I can't seem to nail down whether there were Kohlers in them or whether they were just Briggs & Stratton motors, but that'll give you the answer I believe that you're looking for. They all were horizontal shaft as far as what I can tell, and they came with 18s and 20s. And if you're looking for the hydro pump that's in it, it is called a Eaton 9 hydro, which is usually the next question I get, so I'm just going to throw it out there right now. You forgot the, oh, okay, Hunter, you win. Hunter has come in order to go and catch up on the tractor count. So we were at 27. 27. Hunter says you forgot the white MTD that's underneath the tent, and you also forgot the MTD that has a snowblower attachment to it. So with Hunter's count, that puts us at 29 tractors currently on the property right now. Yeah, I think I've got a few tractors.
You just need
What'd you say?
You just need 2 more.
Yeah, I need 2 more, Karen. Yeah, Jesse says I need 2 more by Halloween to make it the perfect 31 for Halloween. Let's see. Okay, let's see if we can catch up with you guys. Have you ever built a weed whacker bike? If so, do you have any advice? Actually, I used to build chainsaw bicycles back when I was a kid. The one piece of advice that I definitely would pass on is the clutches are great for your upper top speed. They do not have any takeoff power with them. So the one thing that I ended up concluding quite easily and quickly was that you had to figure out a way to hook it up to still be able to pedal start before you actually engage the clutch of the motor. If you could pedal start it in the first gear of the bike, and then you had, so if you were to have a pedal gear set that was 1, 2, 3, if you were able to start it with pedaling it in your first gear, and then you had your chain drive going to the third gear, you could get it up and running, and then you could engage your throttle to throw your clutch to be able to accelerate from there. And that was what I ended up having to go and deal with a lot, was you're going to experimentally roast those clutches. They just do not have the capability to torque up. That's the term I'm looking for. They don't have any torque to them. They've got plenty of high-end RPM. Do not discount the fact that you can make a mountain bike on 16-inch tires do 30 miles per hour with nothing more than just a chainsaw engine. The problem is you have no takeoff torque. So you need a way to maintain the low-end pedaling capability. Charlie wants to know the advice of the best mud tire. If I'm building a mud mower and I know, what'd you say?
Mine.
Yours?
Mine.
So the best mud tire is kind of an ongoing argument. And the problem with mud tires is you basically have two options. You have cookie cutter tires, like what's on Bouncer. Those Wanda tires that are on Jesse's rig, they literally cut down through the mud. And that's because you are trying to cut down and displace the mud to the point you finally hit solid ground, which is all well and good. That is one method. The other method is you wide track the mud tire and you run paddles, which is the reason why I run Bear Claws on Mud Wizard, and I ran Bear Claws originally on Maine Mud Mower. So if you're running tires like the Wandas that are on the Bouncer, you're cookie cuttering down through till you hopefully hit bottom and get grip on it. Or you can run a floating tire with paddles and you try to maintain a certain amount of speed through the mud so that you don't bog down and start to sink and dig in. Those are your two theories, and those are the two different designs. The Wandas are very blatantly knockoffs of a style of ITP Mudlight or something like those.
They work really good on rocks.
And they work really good on rocks. That was the other thing we found with those, was that they definitely tend to go and have the nubs to grip in on the rocks. Whereas my Bear Claws, if you catch rocks and they don't actually get in between the paddle lugs, you tend to slip on rocks really badly with the Bear Claws. Whereas the Wandas that she runs, they tend to actually grab and contort over the top onto the rock. So that's just the 2 cents there that I would say. If you go back on the RCG racing videos, you'll find where I put a link for the Wandas, but those run on a 12-inch rim for GT tires. But they do make Wanda tires of all kinds of different stuff as knockoffs. And others have had good luck with them too. The other thing is Sunf. The brand Sunf on Amazon has started making a bunch of different universal tread ATV tires at a decent price. So if you're looking for a decent price, that's another thing to look into. So just a heads up here, we are hitting the tail end of the chat. We've got about 20 more minutes left. I'll try to go and get down through the questions here and catch up with you guys. Just wanted to go and give you a heads up that we are heading towards the last 20 minutes. And I am on my last soda and starting to feel it in my voice. Let's see. Is Rust Red a 3.0 or 4.0? It is a 4.0 with a single overhead cam. And before the answer / question comes up, yes, that is the motor that they do turbocharge, and yes, it is the motor that they do supercharge. The problem with the 4.0 and a Ford Ranger is that it's not that the motor won't handle, the motor stock will handle upwards of 10 PSI. The problem is the transmission, if it's an automatic, very rarely will handle more than 250 horsepower. And the 5 speeds that came in them very rarely will handle more than about 225 horsepower. So as far as the Ford Ranger 4.0 is concerned, unless you take the 4.0 and you custom bell housing the 4.0 onto a better transmission, which at that point you might as well just V8 swap your Ford Ranger, you're better off just leaving the motor as it is and just being happy with the fact that it is what it is. The 4.0, the single overhead cam, is a very reliable motor as long as you do not end up having to do the rear engine timing chain. They have a rear engine timing chain on those, And most cases, it requires removing the entire motor to be able to change that timing chain. Otherwise than that, you have to cut a hole in the floorboard of your truck in behind where the gas pedal goes. Has anyone ever had to pay someone to take a lawnmower? I actually have been paid once to take lawn mowers. I have ended up paid to remove lawn tractor junkyards from people that either were really crummy tenants or had passed away. In the last 8 years, I've done it 3 times. And as it is now, I tend to offer to just do it for free, and that I will show up and in a single day. And that's a clarification that I always tell everybody, is that if I sign up for it, I show up in a single day to do all of the clearing. As long as they are within about a half an hour to an hour drive of me, I can manage to clear out upwards of about 9 machines, sometimes higher, in a matter of a single day, as long as I start at 8 a.m. in the morning, including drive time. So at this point, I don't usually get paid to remove them. I offer to do it for free because once you part out, it's worth it in the long run. Let's see. Daniel says that's cool. And it's a build I'm doing, just have no knowledge about the trans and just looking to get it done before spring, but thank you for your time. No worries. I'm glad I could go and give you a little bit of bump in the right direction in some form. Let's see. Cam says I have somewhere between 15 to 18. I think I was actually down to 20 at one point, and then things happened. I usually get down into about 20 or so, and then I end up with another stockpile because I'll end up deciding to come up with another idea, or I'll end up finding a group of them or something like that. 20 is usually where I end up getting down to before something happens. The other thing is I live in an area where I have to consistently show rotation of the machines just in case the city decides to give me any problems. So I don't tend to hold on to machines unless they're part of YouTube production. And that tends to keep me in lower numbers rather than just hoarding like 100 of them out back.
Yeah, please don't do that.
Hi, I've got a Massey Ferguson MF1655, and I need to install the drive shaft. Do I have any tips? I don't. I've never actually worked on one of those machines. I can tell you, having done a lot of drive shaft driven hydros, that it would not surprise me at all if you end up having to remove the motor to be able to do that drive shaft. I avoid a ton of those machines for that reason. If you take that machine and you go over onto mytractorforum.com and you post it up, and post up a couple of pictures also. Those guys go gaga for pictures. So go over there, post up that question. I guarantee somebody ends up throwing you an answer. They're a really, really common collector's tractor. We just don't see them very often here in Maine, so try over there. I was planning on doing a friction drive type drive system. Friction drives are fine as long as you never ever get water on the friction drive or you never get mud on the friction drive. I've actually seen several friction drive machines manage to top out at about 25 miles per hour. So it's not that you can't do it with the friction drive system. You just can't go anywhere that potentially gets it wet. I mean, I'm in no way trying to go and discount your build, but do keep in mind, I've seen friction drive systems that just getting wet grass clippings on the friction drive caused them to slip and not be able to drive until they dried out. So keep that in mind if you're going to build it, that you are going to find certain limitations with that friction drive. Why did you like them, or were being fixed, or were they broken? I'm not sure what you're referencing there. Are we talking about LT1000 tractors and stuff? Because if you're talking about LT1000 tractors, the reason why I like them is because they are absolutely hands down the easiest possible tractor to modify into a mud mower. No ifs, ands, or buts, hands down. You can take an LT1000, if you know what you're doing, you can be in a mud hole the very next day keeping up with ATVs. Just stock wise, the drivetrain clutch system in them is capable of mud bogging. You just add a spring to it in order to make it a little bit stronger. You run a Kevlar belt and you call it good. So that's my answer to that question. Let's see. We have a lot in common. I buy tires for tread pattern based on what I'm doing. Exactly. Exactly. It's all about the tread pattern based on the job. It's not about what looks good. It's not about what price it was. You know, I have seen multiple situations where guys go and spend tons of money on the wrong tread pattern for what they're doing, and some guy with $40 a piece Craigslist tires ends up being able to beat them, even though they're on $600 brand spanking new tread. A lot of it has to do with knowing what you're getting into. Super swampers back in the day are one of my prime examples of that. Super swampers were originally designed in order to go and deal with muddy situations, but the rock bouncer guys figured out that they could every other the tread pattern, and that they could comb the tread pattern, and they could be able to go and put them on rock bouncers and be able to make it up straight up solid face rock walls and stuff. So that's the other thing, is tread pattern modification can get you a lot of places that you wouldn't think you could. That's the reason why it is I am a very strong advocate of modifying turf savers in order to be able to get more tread. A modified set of turf saver tread is hands down one of the fastest freebie ways in order to be able to go basic mud mowing. Definitely worth looking into. Do I have any mowers for sale? This time of year, I don't usually end up selling anything. The market is dead. The only reason anybody has a mower that is capable of mowing right now is because they want to be able to mulch leaves, and that's it. And so I don't bother trying to build machines to sell this time of year. Well, with the exception, there is an exception to the rule, which is if I end up with the case of being able to build a cheap, stupid, I don't care $250 junkyard MTD. I will list a MTD pretty much all summer into the fall for $250 just to watch it disappear. That's my one exception to the rule. But if 2 months ago it was a $500 machine, this time of year you are lucky if somebody will pay $400 for it. And at that point, I might as well just stick a tarp on it and throw it out back, and I might as well keep it until late spring. It's just not worth it at that point. I should do a manual swap in rust to red. See if I could find a cheap manual swap that was capable of holding 250 horsepower. That is something I might look into. As far as I know, there isn't really any kind of swap that's done for that, but you never know. Maybe by the time I get back to working on it, somebody will come up with something. Let's see. Hey, Redneck Computer Geek, do you have any input on the old Cub Cadet that were built by IH that were a horizontal shaft? I guess I don't know what the rest of the question is. Post up the rest of the question. Hopefully I'll get back to it. You know, drivetrain is what it is. I understand what you're talking about, but we'll go from there. Why don't you open a small engine shop? Earlier in this chat, we discussed the idea of why it is I don't do commissions and why it is I don't do service for people. It's because the way that I run stuff allows me to shoot the videos as I see fit and as I progress through them. Whereas if I'm working for somebody in customer service, I don't have the ability to do that. And that's part of the reason why it is I run the channel the way I do, and I do what I do. Let's see. Amelia, Danny, I have no idea what video you're talking about. You're welcome to go and send me a. You're welcome to go and send me a message. You can send me an email. You can go on the Facebook page and you can send me a message through that. I'm not sure at all what it is you're discussing as far as a video is concerned. You don't seem to be referencing a title name or anything, but I'm more than willing to go and help you with trying to fix your machine. Let's see. Chad says I have a Husqvarna that will blow the fuse every time I try to start it. Any tips? Yeah, I'm going to go and bet that you probably have either an over voltage coming through the system or you've got a ground somewhere that is incorrect. So what I would do, it depends on whether you have a rectifier circuit or whether you're coming straight off of the stator. So what I would do is I would check your voltage that is coming off of that and figure out whether you have the correct voltage or whether there's something coming out of it. I mean, if you're blowing a fuse, then you're running an amp or an over voltage, one or the other. The other thing is always check to go and make sure whether you have the right fuse. A lot of times I will get machines that were supposed to have 20 amp fuses in them that will end up having 15s and 10s because it's what the person had. And then they just end up blowing the 10s and the 15s about every third or fourth time that they're mowing. And instead of putting the 20 in that should have been there, they just keep cramming the 10s and 15s that they have spare. So if it's a used machine, make sure what it's actually supposed to have. When in doubt, 20 it out is what I usually go with. Let's see. Let's see. So, we got, all right, you guys are discussing what his potential electrical problem is. And Yeah, I agree. The voltage regulator most likely is probably being stupid or something like that. If you're blowing fuses, you either have an over voltage, an over amperage, or something going on. That's what I would check into. Let's see. Can you fit 25, 10, 12 on a GT6000 that has a shifter on the side? So in that case, you're dealing with a hydro shift unit, and I don't remember what the Wandas are that I put on Jesse's machine, but if I remember right, I measured those out as being the largest that would fit within that pattern category. And I do believe those are 26, but those are either 25/8 or they're 26/8. And the reason being is because those are cupped in tires versus straight cut paddle tires. And what I figured out on her machine was where the shifter was coming over. If I ran a cookie cutter tire, then it would stay just outside of that shifter. But if I had to run straight paddle tires, like what I run on Mud Wizard, I would have hit the shifter and I would have had to have reworked all that. So what I tend to go and tell people to do is to take your rim off and measure from the center of your axle and measure out to whatever the first object is that you would hit with the edge of the tire. So if you measure out and that shift linkage area is, if you measure out and that shift linkage area is at, say, 12 out, okay, then 12 times 2 would be 24. So a 24-inch tire would just barely fit if it's a little more than 12 out. Do you follow the math there? So your 24 is measured to the exterior of that. So if you have a cookie cutter tire that comes down and around, then that means these edges at 24 inches out here are going to be at 22, and that's going to give you your clearance without having to modify anything. So that should help you out as far as that's concerned. Let's see. I recently got an old lawn boy I plan to pulley swap. I see you had a similar one on your video a while back from Tim's Flippin' Tractors. So if yours is an 801 that is in that, if yours is an 801 that is like that, then the one thing you need to pay attention to is make sure there's an 801 that actually has a, what is it? I believe it's a 5/8 input instead, because there is a 801 with a smaller input on it also. The other thing is you want to go and check and find out whether you have keyed axle shafts that are 3/4 or whether you have the MTD style D-rim axle shafts on that. If you have the D-rim axle shafts, those rims are utterly horrible to get off. So if the tires are not good on it, and you're not planning on running those tires, before you ever invest anything else, try to get those D-rim tires off before you do anything else. Otherwise, you could potentially be totally wasting your time, because a lot of times those D-rim axles will end up mushrooming. They will do really stupid stuff when you try to take them off. So take your time to go and double check that first. Let's see. Are the old Cub Cadets good tractors to make into plow tractors or something like that? Because I have a 1000 and a 127 right now, but just wanted to know your opinion on them. Are they good? Okay. The reality is you need to build based on the machine's capabilities. Okay? So, this goes back to the same discussion we were having on an LT1000 for plowing snow versus a GT6000 for plowing snow. If it is a mower, then it is not as capable as a garden tractor. Okay? So depending on the declaration of the capability of your unit, and if you look it up on like tractordata.com or someplace like that, they'll actually have categories that they put it in as to whether it is a mower or a garden tractor or something of that nature. And that'll give you an idea as to just how rugged it was originally manufacturer rated. And the other thing is start talking with other people that own those machines. There are plenty of clubs that you can reach out to in order to be able to discuss that. Thank you for the congratulations. I appreciate it. Let's see. All right, we got a couple of questions left here, so we'll try and finish those off, and then we're going to call it good. It's 8 o'clock here at this point, and I'm about halfway through the end of my ginger ale, so we'll try and answer these last couple. Let me see here. Okay, Tim's question, will a Peerless 6-speed fit on a newer MTD and work if I pulley swap it? So go back on RCG Racing and check out the 5-speed MTD swap video. What you're going to discover is an MTD is actually built a different width than most of your other tractors are, and you have to do a modified mount in order to be able to put a 6-speed or a 5-speed or whatever it is you would like to do into an MTD. The other thing about an MTD is that the frame on an MTD, I ended up discovering after making that video that the frame on an MTD is actually a shorter height than a say something like a Craftsman. Okay, a MTD frame rail is a shorter height than a AYP frame, which means that you end up having to compensate also for the spacing that your motor mounts are at in an MTD versus what your motor height to frame ratio is in something like an AYP frame. So you need to plan ahead on that. If the MTD was originally a hydro, like a 316 Peerless hydro, then the transmission mount for that should be the same exact width as a Peerless 6-speed. But if it had a F&R transmission in it, then it will be something else. Okay? Oh, let me see here. I have an ancient Murray 1136 I got for free. Those are fun little tractors to go and work with. I don't really like the 11 horsepower motors that came in them, but for what they were back in the day, they were pretty cool little machines. All right. Hi, everyone. So we're going to go and call this it for the chat. I really appreciate everybody that was here and showed up. We ended up with like 30 people at one point consistently. That was really cool. I'm glad to see our numbers are starting to come back up. We're going to be working on a whole bunch of different odds and ends type stuff, trying to get ready for winter. Most of my content in the next month to month and a half is going to be a lot of trying to get ready for winter. And then once I'm sure everything is all geared up to deal with the snow, then at that point, we will start getting into this winter's project builds. Like I said, both of my project builds are based on and around the idea of around $300 for a budget for each build, and we'll go from there. Hopefully the $300 mark works for everybody. I had a lot of kickback on the Mud Wizard build that the cost of it was excessive as far as what my followers were thinking was appropriate. So I apologize for that, and we're going to try to do something that's more in a general public price range, something or other type idea. I'm really not sure what the correct way to word that is. But thank you, everybody. I appreciate all the good nights, and I appreciate everything. Have a good day and stay out of trouble.